The forest has a language of its own, spoken not in words, but in the rustle of leaves and the snap of a twig. When you are alone in the wild, you must learn to listen to this language. Solo survival is a profound test of self-reliance, where your only companions are your knowledge, your skills, and the natural world itself. Survival is not about conquering nature. It is about understanding it, adapting to it, and finding your place within its intricate systems. Every tree, every stream, and every animal track tells a story. Your ability to read these stories is what will keep you safe, warm, and fed. Solo survival is a test of your skills, but more importantly, it is a test of your mindset and your connection to the world around you. This deep connection is the true essence of bushcraft. Being alone in a vast wilderness can feel daunting at first. The silence can seem loud, and the immense scale of the landscape can make you feel very small. However, this solitude is also a great teacher. It forces you to become more aware of your surroundings and of yourself. You learn to rely on your senses in ways you never have before. Your eyes learn to see the subtle signs of animal life. Your ears learn to distinguish the sound of the wind from the cautious footstep of a creature. This heightened awareness is a critical tool for survival. It turns the initial feeling of being lost into a feeling of being at home in the wild. The forest becomes less of a threat and more of a provider, offering everything you need if you know where to look. The fundamental skills of survival are timeless. They have been passed down through generations of people who lived in close harmony with the land. These skills include finding clean water, building a shelter to protect you from the elements, making a fire to keep you warm, and sourcing food. Each of these elements is vital. Without one, the others become much more difficult to achieve. For instance, without a good shelter, the cold can sap your energy, making it impossible to focus on finding food. This series will explore the challenge of securing food by focusing on a solo deer hunt, a task that requires a deep understanding of the wild and a great deal of respect for the animal you are pursuing. The journey into the wild is as much an internal one as it is an external one. It is about pushing your own boundaries and discovering a resilience you may not have known you possessed. When you are alone, you are your own leader, your own medic, and your own provider. This responsibility sharpens your mind and focuses your actions. Every decision you make has a direct consequence, which teaches you to think carefully and act deliberately. The experience of surviving alone in the forest is not just about staying alive. It is about learning how to live more fully and more consciously. It is an education in the truest sense, one that connects you to the very fabric of life on our planet. Preparation is the foundation of solo survival. Before you even set foot in the wild, you must plan meticulously. This means researching the terrain, understanding the climate, and knowing the local wildlife. Map reading and navigation skills are essential. Always carry a reliable map and compass and know how to use them. GPS devices are helpful, but batteries can fail. Never rely solely on technology. Your gear is your lifeline. The essentials include a sturdy knife, a fire starter, a first aid kit, a water purification system, and a durable shelter such as a tarp or bivy sack. Always check your equipment before departure. Test your headlamp, pack extra batteries, and ensure your gear is in good working order. Practice your skills before you go. Set up your shelter, start a fire in wet conditions, and familiarize yourself with your tools. The time to learn is not when you are already in the wild. A thorough checklist can prevent costly mistakes. Double-check your supplies and always pack for the unexpected. Monitor the weather and be prepared to adapt your plans. Conditions can change rapidly, and flexibility is key to survival. Mindset is just as important as gear. Enter the wild with respect, humility, and a calm determination. Panic and overconfidence are your greatest enemies. The first challenge is often mental. The initial shock of isolation, the unfamiliar sounds, and the weight of responsibility can be overwhelming. Take things one step at a time. Your first priority is to establish a safe camp. Choose a site away from hazards like dead trees, flooding, or animal trails. Set up your shelter before dark. Gather firewood early and prepare your fire site. Fire provides warmth, comfort, and a sense of security. Secure a water source and purify all water before drinking. Dehydration can set in quickly, especially when you are active and exposed to the elements. Begin to observe your surroundings for food sources and animal activity. The more you notice, the better your chances of success. At the end of the day, take time to reflect on your progress and plan for tomorrow. Solo survival is a journey of constant learning and adaptation. As night falls, the forest comes alive with new sounds. Embrace the solitude, trust in your preparation, and rest well for the challenges ahead. In any survival situation, the search for food quickly becomes one of your most urgent priorities. Your body is a complex machine, and just like any machine, it needs fuel to function. Without a steady supply of calories, your body's systems begin to break down, and your ability to survive is severely compromised. Food is the source of energy that powers every action you take, whether it's building a shelter, collecting firewood, or simply keeping your core body temperature stable. When you go without food, your body first uses up its stored carbohydrates, then turns to fat reserves, and eventually begins to break down muscle tissue for energy. This process leads to rapid fatigue, loss of strength, and a dangerous decline in both physical and mental performance. As hunger sets in, your mind becomes clouded. Decision-making slows, your focus drifts, and even simple tasks become difficult. In extreme cases, prolonged hunger can lead to confusion, irritability, and impaired judgment, putting you at even greater risk in the wild. That's why, from the moment you realize you're in a survival scenario, you must begin identifying potential food sources. Streams and rivers can provide fish and aquatic plants. The forest floor may offer edible roots, nuts, and mushrooms. Animal tracks can lead you to small game or larger prey, such as deer. The key is to prioritize your efforts. Start by seeking out the most calorie-dense and easily accessible foods. Edible plants and insects can be gathered quickly, but they often provide limited energy. Fish and small game offer more substantial nutrition, while a large animal like a deer can sustain you for days, providing both meat and fat, essential for long-term survival, especially in cold environments. When you secure a large food source, it's a turning point. The calories from meat restore your strength, while the hide can be used for warmth or to craft essential tools. But hunting large game is a serious undertaking. Deer, for example, are highly alert and possess keen senses. Tracking and hunting them requires patience, skill, and a deep understanding of their habits. You must learn to read the landscape, identifying feeding areas, bedding spots, and travel routes. Observing animal tracks, droppings, and signs of recent activity helps you predict where to focus your efforts. This knowledge is not just academic, it's vital for your survival. The pursuit of food becomes the central focus of your day, shaping your movements and decisions. Every step you take is guided by the need to find sustenance. The challenge is immense, but the reward, a successful hunt or a well-stocked camp, can mean the difference between life and death. A single deer provides a wealth of high-energy protein and fat, which are crucial for maintaining body heat and energy levels. This is why, despite the difficulty, tracking and hunting deer often becomes a necessary goal in survival situations. The need for food pushes you to become a better observer and naturalist. You must learn to recognize edible plants, understand animal behavior, and adapt your strategies as conditions change. Knowing what animals eat, where they sleep, and how they move through the landscape is essential. This practical knowledge increases your chances of success and helps you avoid wasted effort. The search for food sharpens your senses and deepens your respect for the natural world. Every lesson learned is paid for in effort and experience, and every success brings you closer to safety. In the wild, you are no longer just a visitor. You become an active participant in the ongoing struggle for survival, and your relationship with the land is defined by necessity and respect. This raw, honest interaction with nature is what makes the survival experience so transformative. Finding food is not just about staying alive, it's about learning, adapting, and becoming part of the wilderness itself. Tracking is the art of reading a story written on the ground, and it begins long before you spot your quarry. To become a skilled tracker, you must develop patience, sharp observation, and a deep understanding of both the animal and its environment. Step 1 is to slow down and tune into your surroundings. Move quietly, scanning the ground for any sign of disturbance. Broken twigs, compressed grass, or overturned leaves can all indicate recent animal activity. The most obvious sign is a fresh track. Look for impressions in soft earth, mud, or snow. A deer's hoof print is a distinctive two-toed, heart-shaped mark. Examine the print closely. The size and depth can reveal the deer's age, sex, and even its recent activity. A large, deep print often belongs to a mature buck, while smaller, lighter prints are likely from a younger deer or a fawn. Compare tracks side by side to get a sense of the herd's composition and movement. Next, check the sharpness of the track's edges. Crisp, well-defined edges mean the track is fresh, perhaps made within the last hour. If the print is clear and moist, the deer is likely nearby. Rounded, weathered edges suggest the track is older and the animal has moved on. Once you find a promising set of tracks, follow them with care. Move slowly, keeping your eyes open for additional signs. Step 2 is to interpret the trail. Are the tracks evenly spaced and in a straight line? This usually means the deer is walking calmly, unaware of danger. Move as the deer moves, quietly and with purpose. Place your weight on the balls of your feet to minimize noise. Each step should be deliberate, avoiding dry twigs and noisy leaves. Don't just look at the ground. Scan ahead for movement, shapes, or colors that stand out from the forest. Anticipate the deer's next move. Is it heading toward water, food, or shelter? Deer often travel to water sources at dawn and dusk. If tracks lead toward a stream or pond, move with extra caution. Tracks leading into thick brush or a thicket may indicate a bedding area where deer rest during the day. Pause often to study the area. Look for additional signs, fresh droppings, rubbed trees, or disturbed vegetation. Step 3 is to think like the deer. Consider its needs: food, water, safety, and cover. Use this knowledge to predict its path. The direction and pattern of the tracks can reveal if the deer is relaxed or alert. Calm, evenly spaced tracks mean the deer is at ease. The animal may be feeding or simply moving through its territory. Widely spaced, erratic tracks with disturbed earth suggest the deer was startled and ran. If you see this, stop immediately. Listen for sounds, breaking branches, rustling leaves, or distant hoofbeats. Sometimes waiting quietly is the best way to let the woods settle and the deer to reveal itself. If the trail is lost, circle the area slowly to pick up a new set of tracks or signs. Step 4 is to piece together all the clues. Droppings, hair caught on branches, and chewed plants all add to the story. Keep notes or mark locations to help you remember patterns and improve your tracking skills over time. Tracking is not just about following footprints. It's about understanding the animal's habits, the lay of the land, and the subtle language of the wild. Stay alert to every sound and movement. The forest is full of information if you know how to listen. Step 5 is environmental awareness. Always check the wind direction. Deer have an excellent sense of smell. Stay downwind whenever possible to avoid alerting the animal to your presence. Mastering the art of tracking takes time and practice. By following these steps, reading tracks, interpreting behavior, piecing together signs, and staying aware of your environment, you can become a successful tracker and greatly increase your chances of finding deer in the wild. Beyond the tracks on the ground, a deer leaves many other signs of its presence. Learning to recognize these signs is like learning the vocabulary of the forest's language. One of the most common signs is deer droppings, also known as scat. The freshness of the scat can tell you how recently a deer was in the area. Fresh droppings will be dark, moist, and shiny, while older ones will be dry, faded, and crumbly. The shape of the pellets can also give you a clue about the deer's diet. Clumped pellets suggest the deer has been eating lush green vegetation, while individual hard pellets indicate a diet of twigs and buds, which is more common in winter. Another important sign to look for is evidence of feeding. Deer are browsers, meaning they eat leaves, twigs, and buds from shrubs and young trees. Look for plants that have been recently nibbled. A key detail to observe is that deer do not have upper incisor teeth. This means that when they browse, they tear the vegetation, leaving a ragged edge on the twig or stem. In contrast, an animal like a rabbit will leave a clean, sharp cut, as if it was snipped with scissors. Finding a large area of freshly browsed plants is a very strong indicator that deer are using the area as a feeding ground and are likely to return. You should also keep an eye out for places where deer have rested, and these are called beds. A deer bed is an oval-shaped depression in the grass, leaves, or snow where the animal has lain down. Finding a bed can tell you a lot. If the bed is still warm to the touch, or if you can smell the faint, musky scent of the deer, it means the animal has just left. It may have been spooked by your approach and is probably very close. This is a moment for extreme caution and silence. By examining the location of the bed, you can also learn about the deer's habits. They often choose beds in locations that offer good cover but also a good view of their surroundings, allowing them to detect danger. Finally, male deer or bucks leave very distinct signs, especially during the autumn mating season. They will rub their antlers against small trees and saplings to remove the velvet and to mark their territory. These rubs will appear as scraped or shredded bark on the tree trunk. Bucks also make scrapes on the ground. A scrape is a patch of ground where a buck has pawed away the leaves and debris with its hooves. It will then urinate in the scrape to leave its scent as a signal to other deer. Finding a line of fresh rubs and scrapes is an excellent sign that a buck is actively using the area, making it a prime location to focus your hunting efforts. The forest is alive with subtle cues and messages: the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a bird, the scent of pine and earth. All these elements form a complex language. By immersing yourself in this environment, you begin to understand the rhythm and flow of the natural world. Take a moment to close your eyes and listen. The forest speaks in whispers and echoes, guiding those who are patient enough to hear. Feel the textures around you, the rough bark of a tree, the soft moss underfoot. These sensations connect you to the land and its inhabitants. Each sign, each track is a piece of the puzzle. By learning to read these signs, you become fluent in the language of the forest. As dawn breaks and the forest awakens, you realize that you are not just an observer, but a participant in this ancient dialogue. Embrace the silence, the stillness. In these moments, you find a deeper connection to the wild and to yourself. The forest is a teacher, a guide. By learning its language, you unlock the secrets of the wild and discover a world of wonder and wisdom. Trapping is a crucial survival skill, allowing you to catch food while conserving energy. In this chapter, we'll walk through a comprehensive step-by-step guide to building several types of snare traps, covering materials, placement, and troubleshooting along the way. Traps work for you even when you're busy with other tasks, like improving your shelter or gathering firewood. With the right setup, you can increase your chances of catching food while focusing on other survival priorities. For large animals like deer, you'll need more advanced traps, but simple snares are highly effective for small game such as rabbits and squirrels. These animals are often more abundant and easier to catch, making them a reliable food source. Let's start with the basic spring pole snare, a versatile trap you can build using only materials found in the forest. The spring pole snare uses the tension of a bent sapling to lift small animals off the ground. It's ideal for catching creatures that travel along established trails. Step 1. Scout for a suitable location. Look for signs of animal activity, such as droppings, tracks, or fur caught on branches. Place your trap directly on a well-used animal path. The more frequently the trail is used, the higher your chances of success. Game trails are the highways of the forest's smaller inhabitants. Focus your efforts where you see clear, repeated movement. Observing these trails at dawn or dusk can help you confirm which animals are using them. Next, select a strong, flexible sapling growing beside the trail. This will serve as the engine for your spring pole snare. The sapling should be tall and springy, able to snap upright quickly when released. Test several saplings for the right balance of strength and flexibility. Avoid brittle or dead wood as it may break under tension. Once you've found the right sapling, you're ready to build the trigger mechanism. The trigger is the most important part of your trap. It must be sensitive enough to activate when an animal passes through, but sturdy enough to hold the sapling under tension. Carve 2 small forked sticks. One will serve as the anchor, driven into the ground, and the other as the trigger. Use a sharp knife to whittle notches into the trigger stick, allowing it to hook securely under the anchor. Make sure both sticks are sturdy and free of cracks. Sharpen the bottom of the anchor stick and drive it firmly into the ground next to the trail. Carve a notch into the trigger stick so it can be easily hooked and released. The notch should be deep enough to hold, but not so deep that it won't release when triggered. For the snare loop, use strong cordage. Paracord inner strands work well, but you can also twist together plant fibers like nettle or the inner bark of certain trees. Ensure your cord is strong and smooth, as rough or weak cordage may break or fail to tighten properly. Tie a running noose at one end of the cord. The loop should be large enough for the animal's head to pass through, but not so large that it won't tighten. Attach the other end of the cord to the top of the bent sapling. Bend the sapling down toward the anchor stick, holding it under tension. Hook the trigger stick under the fork of the anchor stick, then carefully set the trigger so it holds the sapling in place. Arrange the snare loop directly on the trail, using small twigs to keep it open and elevated at the right height for your target animal. When an animal passes through and nudges the trigger, the mechanism releases, and the sapling springs upright, tightening the noose. The animal is lifted off the ground, resulting in a quick and humane catch. Now let's briefly cover 2 other common snare types, the fixed snare and the drag snare. The fixed snare is the simplest. Tie a running noose in your cord and anchor it to a solid object beside the trail. Place the loop on the path, held open with twigs. When the animal steps through, the loop tightens and holds it in place. The drag snare is similar, but instead of anchoring to a fixed object, tie the snare to a heavy log or branch. When triggered, the animal drags the weight, tiring itself out and preventing escape. Always check your traps regularly. If you find traps sprung but empty, adjust the sensitivity of your trigger or the size of your loop. If animals avoid your traps, try moving them to a more active trail or disguising them with natural materials. Troubleshooting is part of the process. Experiment with placement, materials, and trigger design until you find what works best in your environment. With patience and practice, snare traps can provide a reliable source of food in the wild. Always use them responsibly and check local regulations before setting traps in non-survival situations. In our modern world, we are used to getting things quickly. Instant messages, fast food, and rapid results have shaped our expectations. We value speed and efficiency, often measuring success by how fast we can achieve our goals. But the wilderness operates on a different timescale, one that cannot be rushed or controlled. Out here, patience is not just a virtue, it is a fundamental survival tool, and it demands a different mindset. When you are hunting or trapping, you cannot rush the process. The forest rewards those who can wait, observe, and adapt. Animals are tuned to detect any sign of haste or anxiety. They sense tension in the air, and the smallest mistake can cost you the opportunity. A sudden movement, a loud noise, or an impatient attitude will send them fleeing long before you ever get close. You must learn to slow down, to be still, and to wait. This is where the mental challenge begins. Stillness is not just physical, it's mental. You must quiet your thoughts, let go of distractions, and become part of the landscape. This is especially true when you are waiting for a deer. The hours can stretch on, and your mind may wander. After tracking an animal to a promising area, such as a feeding ground or near a stream. The best strategy is often to find a good hiding place and simply wait. This is called a stand hunt. It tests your ability to remain calm and focused for long periods. You might sit at the base of a large tree or behind a fallen log, making sure the wind is blowing from the deer's likely direction towards you. And then you wait. This is where mental endurance comes into play. It might be for an hour, or it might be for the entire afternoon. The mind can become restless, but this is the moment to practice patience. During this time, you must remain as motionless as possible. Focus on your breathing, slow, steady, and deep. Calm your mind by tuning into your senses. Listen to the wind, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a bird. Let these sounds anchor you in the present. You are listening for the faint sound of a footstep on dry leaves, or watching for the flicker of an ear through the trees. This focus keeps your mind from wandering. The same principle of patience applies to trapping. Once you have set a trap, you must have the discipline to leave it alone. Checking your traps too frequently is a common mistake. It is a test of your self-control and trust in your preparation. Checking your traps too often leaves your scent and disturbs the area, making animals wary. Your repeated visits will leave your scent all over the area, which will make wary animals avoid it completely. A good rule is to check your traps only once or twice a day, perhaps in the early morning and again in the late evening. The time in between can be used for other important tasks, gathering firewood, preparing food, or simply observing the world around you. This requires trust in your skills and patience to let the trap do its work. It is a mental exercise in letting go of control. It is a quiet waiting game, and your success depends on your ability to play it well. Mental resilience is built in these moments. Practicing stillness and patience in the wild is a form of mental training. Techniques like controlled breathing, mindfulness, and visualization can help you stay calm and focused. Mindfulness is key. Notice the details, the texture of moss, the movement of insects, the play of light on the forest floor. When you are sitting silently in the forest, you begin to notice things you would otherwise miss. This deepens your connection to the environment and keeps your mind engaged. You see the way the light filters through the canopy, shifting as the day passes. You hear the different songs of the birds, each one a clue to the life around you. You feel the subtle shifts in the breeze, the temperature, and the energy of the forest. This deep observation connects you to the rhythm of the natural world. It grounds you and builds emotional resilience. It is a form of meditation, born from necessity. The forest becomes your teacher, showing you the value of patience and presence. In the quiet waiting, you learn not only about the animals you seek, but also about yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, and your ability to remain calm under pressure. This quiet strength, forged in the stillness of the wild, is the hallmark of an experienced survivor. Patience, focus, and resilience, these are the true tools of the wilderness. Surviving in the wild is a constant battle to maintain your body's core temperature. When temperatures drop, especially in the wilderness, your survival depends on your ability to adapt and prepare for the cold. The cold is a silent and relentless threat. It can sap your energy, cloud your judgment, and make every task more difficult. As night falls and temperatures plummet, the risk of hypothermia increases dramatically. Recognizing the signs of hypothermia is crucial. Shivering, slurred speech, confusion, loss of coordination, and drowsiness are all warning signs that your body is losing heat faster than it can produce it. If you notice uncontrollable shivering, fumbling hands, or difficulty thinking clearly, it's time to act fast. Get to shelter, add layers, and warm up as quickly as possible. Hypothermia, a dangerous drop in body temperature, can be life-threatening if not addressed immediately. Staying warm is just as important as finding food or water. Your first line of defense is proper clothing. Dress in layers. Start with a moisture-wicking base layer to keep sweat off your skin, add an insulating layer like fleece or wool, and finish with a windproof and waterproof outer shell. Avoid cotton, as it holds moisture and loses its insulating properties when wet. Make sure your clothing fits well, but isn't too tight, allowing for air circulation and insulation. Your shelter is your next priority. Build it small and compact to trap body heat and insulate the ground with a thick layer of dry leaves, pine needles, or ferns. This barrier prevents the cold earth from drawing away your warmth while you sleep. Position your shelter to block the wind, using natural features like rocks or fallen logs for extra protection. A well-built shelter shields you from wind, rain, and snow, all of which can quickly rob you of body heat. Even a simple lean-to built against a rock face or a fallen log can make a huge difference in your comfort and safety. Insulate the floor of your shelter with as much dry material as possible. The thicker the layer, the better the insulation. A thick bed of dry leaves, pine needles, or ferns will create a barrier between you and the cold earth, helping you retain precious body heat through the night. Fire is your best friend in the cold. Build a controlled campfire in front of your shelter to reflect heat inside. Use rocks to help direct warmth toward your sleeping area, but always keep fire safety in mind. Gathering firewood is a critical task. Collect more than you think you'll need, as fires burn faster in cold weather, and you'll need a steady supply to last through the night. Staying warm burns extra calories, so you'll need to eat more food to keep your energy up. Focus on high-calorie, easy-to-prepare meals that provide lasting energy. Wildlife also adapts to the cold. Animals may move less to conserve energy, making hunting more challenging. Look for fresh tracks in the snow and focus your efforts where animals are likely to seek shelter or food. Be patient and observant. The stillness of winter can work to your advantage if you move quietly and watch for subtle signs of animal activity. Your own body will feel the effects of the cold. Pay special attention to your hands and feet, as they are most vulnerable to frostbite. Cold hands can make it difficult to handle tools, tie knots, or safely use a knife. Keep gloves dry and change into dry socks whenever possible. Insulated boots and mittens are essential. If your gear gets wet, dry it by the fire before nightfall. Dress in layers and adjust your clothing as you move to avoid sweating. Overheating can lead to damp clothes, which lose their insulating power and make you colder once you stop moving. If you do sweat, remove damp layers and dry them as soon as possible. Never sleep in wet clothing. Conserve your energy. Move deliberately and avoid unnecessary tasks. Every action should have a purpose, especially when the cold saps your strength. Plan your movements to minimize exposure to the elements. Prepare food and water in advance to reduce time spent in the cold morning air. Rest when you can and avoid overexertion. Fatigue increases your risk of hypothermia and injury. Experience and planning are your greatest assets. Review your supplies regularly and adjust your strategy as conditions change. Always gather more firewood than you think you'll need before darkness falls. Running out of fuel in the middle of the night can be dangerous. Prepare your meals and fill your water containers before night. This minimizes your exposure to the cold and helps you start the next day strong. Surviving dropping temperatures is a battle of preparation, awareness, and smart decision-making. By respecting the power of the cold, dressing properly, building effective shelter, maintaining a fire, and recognizing the signs of hypothermia, you can conserve your strength and stay focused on the essential tasks of survival, like the hunt that will provide the fuel you need to keep going. In a survival situation, knowledge and skills are your tools, but instinct is your guide. When you're alone in the wild, every decision can mean the difference between success and failure, comfort and hardship, or even life and death. Instinct, or what some call a gut feeling, is a powerful sense that develops through repeated exposure to the wilderness. It's not magic. It's the result of your mind processing countless details, often without you realizing it. Imagine you're deep in the woods and come to a fork in the trail. You can't explain why, but something tells you to take the left path. That's your instinct at work, drawing on every experience you've had in similar situations. Your subconscious mind is constantly processing subtle cues, a faint scent on the wind, a sudden hush among the birds, the way the light shifts through the trees. These details combine to give you a feeling, a hunch, or an intuition. Learning to trust this instinct is a critical part of becoming an expert survivor. It's not just about what you know, but how you apply it in the moment. When you're alone in the wilderness, you face countless decisions. Each one can have real consequences. Should you follow these tracks or those? Is that animal moving toward water or away from danger? Is this spot safe for a shelter, or could it flood if it rains? Is there enough cover to stay hidden from predators? Is that stream water safe to drink, or could it make you sick? Sometimes your training gives you a clear answer. You know what to do because you've practiced it. But often the situation is ambiguous. There's no obvious right or wrong choice. This is where your experience comes into play. Every hour you spend in the wild, you're learning whether you realize it or not. You're building a mental library of sights, sounds, and smells. Over time, this library becomes your greatest asset. This mental library fuels your instinct, helping you make decisions quickly and accurately. For example, an experienced woodsman might feel uneasy and decide to move his camp, only to discover later that a bear had passed through the area that night. This isn't luck. It's instinct, sharpened by experience. Real-life stories abound of hunters and survivalists who avoided danger or found success by trusting their gut. One seasoned hunter once described how he stopped in his tracks, feeling something was off, and moments later spotted a buck he would have otherwise spooked. This is not magic, it's the culmination of years spent observing, learning, and sometimes making mistakes. During a hunt, instinct is especially important. You might be following deer tracks and suddenly feel the urge to stop and wait. You might not see or hear anything, but something tells you to be still. Minutes later, a deer steps out from behind a thicket, right where you're waiting. This is the hunter's intuition, a silent conversation between you and the wild, built on countless hours of observation and experience. It's a deep, primal connection, allowing you to anticipate the animal's actions before they happen. Developing this instinct takes time and practice. It's not something you can learn from a book alone. You have to spend time in nature, observing, listening, and paying attention to your feelings. Every mistake is a lesson. For example, a hunter might misread the wind and spook his quarry. The next time he remembers to check the breeze before making a move. Over time, your gut feelings become more reliable. You learn to trust your judgment, and that trust is empowering. Books and training are valuable, but nothing replaces real-world experience. The wild is the ultimate teacher. You must spend time alone in the woods, learning from every success and every mistake. Each error is a lesson that sharpens your instincts for the next challenge. Over time, you'll find your instincts become your most trusted companion. You'll move with confidence, knowing you can rely on your judgment. This trust in yourself is what separates a survivor from someone who simply endures. When you're alone, you have no one else to rely on. Your instincts and experience are your greatest allies. The ability to combine practical skills with intuition is what will see you through the toughest challenges. In the end, it's the synergy of knowledge, instinct, and experience that creates a true survivor. Surviving a solo challenge in the wild is an experience that changes you. It strips away the complexities of modern life and brings you face to face with the fundamentals of existence: warmth, water, and food. The successful deer hunt was more than just a means to get a meal. It was the culmination of all the skills, patience, and awareness that the wilderness demands. It was a powerful reminder that we are a part of the natural world, not separate from it. The forest is a great teacher, and its lessons are profound. It teaches self-reliance, resourcefulness, and a deep and abiding respect for the intricate web of life. One of the most important lessons learned from this experience is the value of knowledge. Knowing how to read animal tracks, how to build a shelter, or how to make a fire from what you can find around you is incredibly empowering. These are not just interesting hobbies, they are timeless life skills that connect us to our ancestors and to the earth itself. In a world where we are increasingly dependent on technology, there is great value in understanding these basic principles. This knowledge gives you a quiet confidence and a sense of capability that can be applied to all aspects of your life, long after you have left the forest behind. The experience also teaches you about your own inner strength. Being alone in the wild forces you to confront your fears and push past your perceived limits. You discover a resilience you did not know you had. The mental challenges, the solitude, the cold, the constant need for vigilance are often greater than the physical ones. Overcoming them builds a strong sense of self-worth and mental fortitude. You learn that you are capable of handling difficult situations with calm and clear thinking. This inner peace, found in the heart of the wilderness, is perhaps the greatest prize of all. Finally, the solo survival journey fosters a profound sense of gratitude. When you have worked hard for every sip of clean water and every bite of food, you appreciate these things in a way that is impossible to understand in a world of convenience. You feel a deep respect for the deer that gave its life so that you could continue yours. This experience reminds us that nothing should be taken for granted. The skills of survival are important, not because we expect to be lost in the woods, but because they teach us to live more consciously, more gratefully, and with a deeper connection to the planet that sustains us all. Building a basic shelter is a crucial survival skill, but mastering advanced techniques can make the difference between enduring the elements and thriving in them. In this chapter, we'll walk through a detailed, step-by-step guide to constructing a sturdy, weather-resistant shelter using only what the wilderness provides. Step 1. Selecting the right location. Begin by surveying your surroundings for a spot that offers natural protection. Look for areas shielded from wind and away from hazards like falling branches or potential flooding. Ideally, choose a slightly elevated site with good drainage and access to building materials like branches, leaves, and bark. Step 2. Designing the framework. For maximum durability, construct an A-frame shelter. Start by finding a strong, straight ridgepole about the length of your body plus 2 feet. Secure it between 2 forked trees or prop it up on a sturdy Y-shaped support at one end, anchoring the other end securely to the ground. The ridgepole will serve as the backbone of your shelter. Step 3. Building the walls. Next, gather long, sturdy branches to create the frame. Lean them against both sides of the ridgepole at a 45-degree angle, spacing them closely together. This creates the skeleton of your shelter and determines its final shape. Make sure there are no large gaps, as these could let in wind or rain. Step 4. Insulating the shelter. Insulation is key for warmth and waterproofing. Pile layers of leaves, pine needles, moss or grass over the frame, starting from the bottom and working your way up. Each layer should overlap the one below, much like shingles on a roof. Aim for at least a foot of insulation for cold or wet conditions. Don't forget to insulate the ground inside your shelter with a thick mattress of leaves or boughs to keep you off the cold earth. Step 5. Weatherproofing and ventilation. For additional protection, add a layer of bark or large leafy branches on top of your insulation. This helps shed rainwater and keeps the inside dry. Leave a small opening near the top of the shelter for ventilation, especially if you plan to use a small fire outside the entrance for warmth. Step 6. Final adjustments. Once the basic structure is complete, crawl inside and check for drafts or leaks. Patch any weak spots with more insulation. Reinforce the entrance with additional branches or a woven door of sticks and leaves if necessary. With patience and practice, these advanced shelter-building techniques can provide safety, warmth, and peace of mind in the wild. A well-constructed shelter is more than a refuge from the elements. It's a testament to your resourcefulness and adaptability, qualities that are essential for true solo survival. Water. It's the cornerstone of survival, and in the wilderness, finding it is just as important as shelter. In this chapter, we'll break down the essential steps for locating, collecting and purifying water, ensuring every drop you drink is safe. Step 1. Locating water sources. Start by scanning the landscape for signs of water. Look for low-lying areas, green vegetation, or animal tracks, which often lead to streams or ponds. Listen for the subtle sound of running water, especially in valleys or ravines. If surface water is scarce, search for moisture under rocks or dig at the base of dry stream beds. Sometimes, water seeps just below the surface. Step 2. Collecting water safely. Once you've found a source, approach with caution. Avoid stagnant pools and water with signs of contamination, such as algae blooms or animal remains. Use a clean container, a plastic bag, or even a large leaf to collect water. If rain is in the forecast, set up a tarp or large leaves to catch rainwater directly. It's one of the safest sources in the wild. Step 3. Purifying water. Even the clearest stream can harbor invisible dangers. Always purify your water before drinking. If you have a portable filter, use it according to the instructions. If not, boiling is the most reliable method. Bring water to a rolling boil for at least 1 minute or 3 minutes at higher elevations. In a pinch, you can use improvised filters. Layer sand, charcoal, and grass in a container and pour water through, but always follow up with boiling if possible. Alternative methods. If fire isn't available, water purification tablets or drops can be life-saving. Carry them in your kit if you can. In emergencies, let clear water sit in a transparent container under direct sunlight for several hours. The sun's UV rays can help kill some harmful microbes, though this method is less reliable than boiling. Step 4. Water conservation rationing. Water is risky, so focus on finding more rather than stretching what you have. Avoid exertion during the hottest parts of the day. Rest in the shade and minimize sweat loss. Remember, it's better to drink when you're thirsty than to risk dehydration. Securing safe water is a skill that blends observation, patience, and knowledge. With these techniques, you'll be prepared to quench your thirst and maintain your strength, no matter where the wilderness takes you. Fire is more than just warmth, it's protection, a signal for rescue, a way to cook food, and a source of comfort in the wild. In this chapter, we'll take a deep dive into advanced Firecraft, exploring a range of ignition techniques, materials, and troubleshooting tips to ensure you can start a fire in any condition. Let's begin with ignition methods. The classic choice is a ferrocerium rod, also known as a ferro rod. Scrape it with the back of a knife to produce a shower of hot sparks. For even more reliability, carry waterproof matches or a butane lighter. But what if you have none of these? Try the bow drill, craft a spindle and a hearthboard from dry wood, create a bow with cordage, and use steady, rhythmic strokes to generate friction and heat until you see a glowing ember. Next, let's talk about tinder. Dry fibrous materials are ideal. Think birch bark, dry grass, or cedar shavings. If natural tinder is scarce, cotton balls mixed with petroleum jelly or char cloth in your kit can be a lifesaver. Arrange your tinder in a loose bundle to allow airflow. Once you have an ember, transfer it to your tinder nest and blow gently until it ignites. Gradually add kindling, small twigs or wood shavings, before moving on to larger fuel. Build your fire structure carefully. A teepee or lean-to shape encourages airflow and quick ignition, while a log cabin shape gives longer-lasting, stable heat. Troubleshooting is key in challenging conditions. If your tinder is damp, shave off the outer wet layers to find dry material inside. In windy weather, use rocks or a dug-out fire pit to shield your flame. If it's raining, look for dry wood under fallen logs or inside standing dead trees. Finally, always remember safety. Clear a space around your fire, keep water nearby for emergencies, and never leave a fire unattended. When it's time to move on, douse the coals thoroughly and scatter the ashes. With mastery of advanced Firecraft, you transform the wild into a place of warmth and security. Practice these skills before you need them, and you'll never be left in the cold. In the heart of the wilderness, knowing how to navigate without a map or compass can mean the difference between staying lost and finding your way home. Let's explore the essential techniques of wilderness navigation using natural signs, the stars, and simple improvised tools. First, observe the landscape. The position of the sun can act as your guide. In the northern hemisphere, the sun rises roughly in the east and sets in the west. At midday, it's due south. Use a straight stick to cast a shadow on level ground. Mark the tip of the shadow, wait 15 minutes, and mark the new tip. The line between the 2 points runs west to east. Look for other natural clues. Moss tends to grow thicker on the north side of trees and rocks, but always cross-check with other indicators, as this isn't foolproof. Streams and rivers often flow downhill toward larger bodies of water or civilization. Animal trails can sometimes lead to water sources or clearings. At night, the stars become your compass. In the northern hemisphere, locate Polaris, the North Star, by following the pointer stars at the end of the Big Dipper's bowl. Polaris sits almost directly above true north. In the southern hemisphere, the Southern Cross constellation helps point south. Draw an imaginary line along its long axis and extend it down to the horizon. Improvised tools can also aid your journey. To find direction with a watch, point the hour hand at the sun. The midpoint between the hour hand and 12 o'clock marks south. If you don't have a watch, create a shadow stick compass. Place a stick upright in the ground. Mark the tip of its shadow, and after a short while, mark the new tip. Draw a line between the 2 points to establish an east-west line. Finally, maintain situational awareness. Regularly check your surroundings, landmarks, and backtrack points. If you feel disoriented, stop, stay calm, and reassess the signs around you. Navigation is as much about observation as it is about technique. With practice and attention to nature's cues, you can move confidently through the wild, guided by the world itself. In the unpredictable environment of the wilderness, injuries can happen at any time. Knowing how to administer emergency first aid can be the difference between a minor setback and a life-threatening situation. Let's delve into the essential first aid skills every solo survivalist should master. First, addressing bleeding is crucial. If you or someone else sustains a cut or laceration, apply direct pressure to the wound with a clean cloth or bandage. Elevate the injured area above the heart level if possible to reduce blood flow. If the bleeding is severe and doesn't stop with direct pressure, a tourniquet may be necessary. Apply it above the wound, tighten until the bleeding stops, and note the time of application to inform medical professionals later. Next, let's talk about treating burns. For minor burns, cool the affected area with running water for at least 10 minutes. Avoid using ice or very cold water, as this can cause further damage. Cover the burn with a sterile, non-stick dressing or clean cloth. For more severe burns, do not remove clothing stuck to the burn and seek medical help as soon as possible. When it comes to fractures and sprains, immobilization is key. For a suspected fracture, create a splint using available materials like sticks and secure it with strips of cloth. Ensure the splint immobilizes the joints above and below the injury. For sprains, follow the RIKE method: rest, ice, compression, and elevation. Ice the area for 20 minutes, compress it with a bandage, and keep it elevated to reduce swelling. In the case of hypothermia, it's essential to act quickly. Hypothermia occurs when the body's core temperature drops dangerously low. Symptoms include shivering, slurred speech, and confusion. To treat hypothermia, move to a warmer environment, remove wet clothing, and wrap the person in dry blankets or clothing. Provide warm, non-alcoholic beverages if the person is conscious and able to drink. Heat-related illnesses like heat exhaustion and heat stroke are also common in survival situations. For heat exhaustion, move to a cooler place, loosen tight clothing, and sip water slowly. Apply cool, wet cloths to the skin. If symptoms worsen or progress to heat stroke, characterized by a high body temperature, altered mental state, and lack of sweating, seek medical help immediately. Cool the person rapidly by any means available, such as immersing in cool water or using ice packs. Finally, it's important to recognize and treat dehydration. Symptoms include dizziness, dry mouth, and dark urine. Prevent dehydration by drinking water regularly, even if you don't feel thirsty. If you suspect dehydration, rest in a cool place and sip water or an electrolyte solution. Remember, preparation is your best defense. Carry a well-stocked first aid kit and familiarize yourself with basic first aid techniques. In the wild, your knowledge and quick response can make all the difference. Stay safe, stay prepared, and always respect the power of nature. In the heart of the wilderness, nature provides a surprising array of food sources, if you know where to look. Foraging for edible plants and insects can be a reliable way to supplement your diet and maintain energy, but success and safety depend on careful identification, preparation, and a deep respect for the environment. Let's start with edible plants. The key principle is never eat anything unless you're absolutely certain of its identity. Many edible plants have poisonous lookalikes. Familiarize yourself with common, easily recognizable edibles such as dandelion, plantain, wild garlic, cattail, and stinging nettle. Dandelion leaves, flowers, and roots are all edible, though the leaves are best when young and tender. Plantain leaves can be eaten raw or cooked, and their seeds are also a valuable food source. Wild garlic is easily identified by its strong garlic scent. Use its leaves and bulbs in moderation for flavor and nutrition. Cattail shoots can be eaten raw or cooked, and pollen can be collected as a flour substitute. For stinging nettle, always wear gloves when harvesting and cook the leaves to neutralize the sting. When it comes to berries, caution is crucial. Only consume berries you can positively identify as safe, such as wild strawberries, blueberries, or blackberries. Avoid white, yellow, or green berries, as these are more likely to be toxic. Moving on to fungi, it's best to avoid wild mushrooms unless you are an expert in mycology. Many edible mushrooms have deadly counterparts, making them a risky choice for the untrained. Now let's discuss insects, a high-protein, widely available food source. Grasshoppers, crickets, and certain beetles are generally safe to eat and can be found in grassy or wooded areas. Remove wings and legs for easier digestion. Ants are also edible and can be eaten raw or lightly roasted. However, avoid brightly colored insects, those with strong odors or hairy bodies, as these are often warnings of toxicity. Preparation is just as important as identification. Wash plants and insects thoroughly in clean water. Cook insects when possible to kill any parasites and improve taste. For plants, boiling can help remove bitterness or mild toxins. Discard the water after boiling. Safety is paramount. If you're unsure about a plant or insect, perform a universal edibility test. Separate the item into parts, leaves, stems, roots, and flowers, and test each part individually by rubbing a small amount on your skin, waiting for a reaction, then placing a tiny amount on your lips and finally chewing and waiting for any adverse effects before swallowing. Finally, forage sustainably. Only take what you need and leave enough for wildlife and regeneration. Respect the balance of the ecosystem and avoid rare or endangered species. With knowledge, caution, and respect, foraging can provide not just nourishment, but a deeper connection to the wild places you explore. In the wilderness, encounters with predators and dangerous wildlife can be both thrilling and terrifying. Recognizing, avoiding, and handling these encounters is essential for any solo survivor. This guide will provide you with practical tips to stay safe and minimize risk. Let's start with recognizing signs of wildlife presence. Tracks, scat, and markings such as tree scratches can indicate the presence of animals. Large paw prints with visible claw marks often belong to bears, while tracks with no claw marks could be from big cats like mountain lions. Scat can also tell you a lot. Bear scat is usually large and contains remnants of berries, plants, or animal fur. Avoiding encounters is your best strategy. Make noise as you move through dense forest areas. Talk, clap, or carry a bell. This alerts wildlife to your presence, giving them a chance to move away. Avoid traveling during dawn and dusk when many predators are most active. if you do encounter a predator, different animals require different responses. For bears, it's crucial to stay calm. Do not run. Instead, back away slowly while facing the bear. Speak in a calm, firm voice to identify yourself as a human. If a bear charges, it might be a bluff. Stand your ground until the last moment, then use bear spray if available. In the rare event of an attack, your response depends on the type of bear. Play dead with a grizzly bear by lying flat on your stomach, covering your neck, and spreading your legs to make it harder to be turned over. With a black bear, fight back aggressively, aiming for the face and muzzle. For mountain lions, never turn your back or run. Make yourself appear larger by raising your arms or opening your jacket. Maintain eye contact and speak loudly and firmly. If the mountain lion acts aggressively, throw stones, branches, or whatever you can find without crouching down or turning your back. If attacked, fight back and protect your neck and head. Wolves usually avoid humans, but in the rare case of an encounter, stand your ground. Do not run, as this can trigger their chase instinct. Make yourself look larger and more intimidating. If they approach, shout and throw objects. If attacked, fight back with everything you have. Snakes are another concern. Be cautious when stepping over logs or rocks and never put your hands where you can't see. If bitten, stay calm and keep the affected limb immobilized and lower than your heart. Seek medical attention immediately and avoid applying ice or attempting to suck out the venom. In all cases, preparation is key. Carry a whistle, bear spray, and a first aid kit. Know the wildlife in the area you're exploring and understand their behaviors. Most importantly, respect their space and habitat. Never approach or provoke wildlife. Remember, the wilderness is their home. With knowledge, caution, and respect, you can coexist safely while enjoying the beauty and adventure of solo survival. In the wild, surviving alone is more than a test of physical skill. It's a challenge of the mind. When the silence of the forest stretches on and each day blurs into the next, maintaining high morale and a healthy mental state becomes just as important as finding food or building shelter. Let's start with the basics: routine and structure. Establishing a daily rhythm, waking up with the sunrise, performing morning checks on traps or gear, gathering water and preparing meals gives purpose to your days and keeps your mind focused. Even small rituals like tidying your campsite or tracking the weather can provide a sense of normalcy and control. Next, set achievable goals. These can be as simple as improving your fire-making skills, mapping out your immediate surroundings, or identifying new edible plants. Each completed task is a victory, reinforcing your sense of progress and capability. Loneliness is a real threat. Combat it by talking aloud, journaling, or even carving marks into a stick to count the days. These acts can anchor you to the present and remind you that you are not just surviving, you are living, learning, and growing. Mental fatigue and despair often creep in during moments of inactivity or adversity. When you feel stress building, pause and practice deep breathing. Focus on the sights, sounds, and smells around you. Mindfulness in nature not only calms anxiety but deepens your appreciation for the wild world you're immersed in. Stay motivated by recalling your reasons for enduring, whether it's the challenge, the beauty of nature, or the promise of return. Keep these motivations close. Visualize your loved ones or the moment you'll step out of the wild, stronger than before. Lastly, remember that setbacks are part of the journey. Missed meals, failed fires, or harsh weather will test your resolve. When they do, treat yourself with patience and self-compassion. Every survivor faces low moments. What matters is your ability to adapt, recover, and push forward. Solo survival is as much a mental journey as it is a physical one. With self-discipline, positive habits, and a resilient mindset, you'll not only endure the wilderness, you'll emerge from it transformed. Surviving alone in the wild requires more than just endurance. It demands ingenuity. In this chapter, We'll explore the art of crafting essential tools and improvised gear using natural materials found in your surroundings. Whether you're fashioning a spear for fishing or a container for water, these skills are critical for self-reliance. First, let's start with the basics. A sturdy knife. A sharp-edged stone can be transformed into a cutting tool. Look for flint, chert, or quartzite rocks. Strike the rock against a harder surface to chip away small pieces, gradually shaping a sharp edge. Secure the blade to a wooden handle using natural cordage, which we'll cover next. Creating cordage is a fundamental skill. Identify plants with long fibrous leaves like yucca or inner bark from trees like cedar. Strip the fibers, twist them together, and roll them on your thigh to form a strong, flexible rope. This cordage can be used for everything from fishing lines to securing shelters. Next, let's craft a spear. Find a straight, sturdy branch. Sharpen one end using your stone knife, then harden the tip by holding it over a fire. This simple yet effective weapon can be used for fishing and hunting small game. For water storage, you'll need a container. Birch bark can be folded and sealed with pine resin to create waterproof containers. Carefully peel the bark in large sheets, fold and stitch the edges with cordage, and seal any gaps with heated resin. A shelter is incomplete without a comfortable sleeping mat. Gather soft, flexible branches or grasses. Weave them together tightly to form a mat, providing insulation from the cold ground and adding comfort to your sleeping area. Lastly, let's craft a fish trap. Using flexible branches, create a conical shape with an opening just wide enough for fish to enter, but not escape. Secure the branches with cordage and place the trap in a stream or river. This passive fishing method can yield significant results with minimal effort. Crafting tools and gear from natural materials not only enhances your survival chances, but also deepens your connection with the environment. Each item you create is a testament to your resourcefulness and adaptability. Remember, the wild provides everything you need if you know where to look and how to use it. When surviving alone in the wild, self-reliance is essential, but so is the hope of eventual rescue. Preparing for rescue means making yourself as visible and detectable as possible to search parties, aircraft, or passing hikers. In this chapter, we'll break down the most effective methods for signaling and increasing your chances of being found. Start by choosing a location for your camp that is open and visible from the air or across long distances. Hilltops, clearings, or riverbanks make excellent spots. Avoid dense forests or valleys where your presence can be easily concealed. One of the most universal distress signals is the signal fire. Build 3 fires in a straight line or a triangle. This pattern is recognized as a call for help. Use green branches, leaves, or moss to create thick smoke during the day and keep fires bright at night. Always have extra dry fuel ready to quickly ignite your signal if you hear aircraft or see people nearby. Mirrors or shiny metal objects can be used to reflect sunlight and catch the attention of rescuers. If you don't have a manufactured mirror, polish a piece of metal, or even use the surface of your water container. Hold the reflective surface at arm's length and angle it so the sunlight flashes toward your intended target. Practice this technique to maximize its effectiveness. Improvised flags and ground-to-air signals are also powerful tools. Lay out large, contrasting materials, such as clothing, branches, or rocks, in obvious geometric patterns like X, SOS, or arrows pointing to your location. The bigger and more contrasting the signal, the better. If snow is on the ground, stomp out large letters or symbols. In sandy or grassy areas, clear the surface to reveal the contrasting earth beneath. Noise is another critical signaling tool. Carry a whistle if possible, and use it in bursts of 3, the international signal for distress. If you don't have a whistle, banging rocks together or using improvised instruments can work in a pinch. Periodically make noise, especially when you think searchers may be nearby. Stay prepared for rescue at all times. Keep your gear packed and be ready to move quickly if you spot rescuers. Conserve your energy, but remain alert for sounds or signs of approaching help. Mark your path with visible signs or symbols if you need to leave your camp in search of water or food. Finally, remember that patience and persistence are key. Continue to maintain your signals and keep hope alive. Being prepared for rescue is as much about mindset as it is about technique. By staying proactive and visible, you greatly increase your odds of being found and returning safely to civilization.